And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Friday, March 7th. I am Josh Engleman, here to break down an 8-game NBA slate today, and that's 8 games on FanDuel and 8 games on DraftKings. And the timing of this one, it's going to be great for late swap. So get ready. 1 7 o'clock, 2 7:30s, 2 8s, 2 10s, so a 2-hour break after we leave playback, and then a late night hammer Knicks Clippers at 10:30. And currently we don't know the status of Jalen Brunson. We're going to have a hell of a day on our hands. I'm going to be breaking this one down now. We're going to have the deeper dive live before lock and playback later tonight. So let's get this one started by hitting the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. I hope you guys had a good night last night. I really don't know much about what happened. I'm off on Thursday nights. Big day out of Luka, 32, 12, and 7. Big day out of LeBron. Wow, so Luka and LeBron were the two highest scorers yesterday. That's kind of wild. OT, obviously. Brunson gets dinged up. Massive day out of Kobe White. Okay. Really big day out of Cam Johnson. Tari Eason looked good. Peyton Pritchard couldn't follow up on 40. Kind of ugly everywhere else. Good George Niang day. That probably would have helped me. But I was playing with the pup. Yeah, I know the ankle sprain for Brunson isn't great. I left him in. If it were a different team, I probably wouldn't have. But I don't ever trust a Nick to be sitting out. I'm just going to assume that he's listed as questionable today, and he'll need to go in anyway. But I actually left him in. We'll see what happens when we get there. Let's break it down. We got 8 games to go through. Let's start it off. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 17-point favorites in Charlotte, 234 total. They're the biggest favorites on the slate. They're 6.5 point bigger favorites than Memphis today. That's how crazy it is. Memphis is second. 17-point favorites in Charlotte. I kind of wish this game was in Cleveland. We might have actually seen a 20-point line. So for Cleveland, it's going to be really difficult, in my eyes, to want to get to anything from the Cavs. Nobody's really getting any ownership. 6% to Mobley, 6% to Garland. No one's on the injury report. Now, if you want to roster one of their 4 dudes, Garland, Mitchell, Mobley, Allen, totally fine. They are rosterable guys in whatever contest you're in. They are not priorities. I think Garland looks the best of anybody at 7,300. Point guard only. 1.2 fantasy points per minute. 8% optimal. 27% boom. But he still only ranks 32nd. So, I don't know. What's the point here? I don't see it. Cleveland never plays these guys enough minutes. Charlotte's awful. Going to be without Mark Williams as well today. You want to randomly choose one of their 4 main guys? I think that's reasonable. Otherwise, no. No. And I can't even separate Mitchell, Mobley, and Allen. They rank 50th, 52nd, and 57th. So, yeah, look, do they look like good plays? Not really. But they are fine pivots. Do we have any bets on Cleveland? That might actually make this look a little bit more interesting. What do we have Cavs bets wise? Nothing, unfortunately. Ty Jerome, less than 1 odd shot. These are all less than 1 odd shopper rating. 1.1% EV on Ty Jerome's points. I can't really recommend that. Larry, just now, just now. I've been pulling for that one for a while. I think it's live officially now. Great for late swaps. Or if you just want to simply like control for standard deviation for players, if you think it's different for other people. But I'll be using it for late swaps to adjust for guys that are already playing. At least that's my plan. Charlotte Hornets on the opposite side here. This is where it gets a little tricky. And I don't want anybody to overreact right now to these numbers. Basically, there's no ownership coming into Charlotte. LaMelo's getting a little bit. As always, you could play LaMelo. Ownership is showing Yusuf Nurkic at 30% and Moussa Diabate at 0%. Mark Williams is out today, and I'm expecting Moussa Diabate and Yusuf Nurkic to split the center minutes in some way. I don't know who's going to start. I don't know who's going to play more minutes. Obviously, Nurkic is a way better play than Moussa Diabate. Diabate is going to be like a 0.8 guy. Nurkic is going to be like a 1.15 guy, at least. Depending on how much of a believer you are in him this year. So, depending on the status, this could look very different. Because if Yusuf Nurkic starts as a $3,700 center, then he is going to be 30% owned or more. If Diabate starts, then you start after you play this game of who's going to play the minutes, how many minutes can each guy play, does Salon grab any other minutes at the 5? So what we're looking for here for most confidence is to see that Yusuf Nurkic is starting for Charlotte. If he is, he's going to be a priority value option. I have no idea if he is, though. And that's the part we want to pay attention to the most for Charlotte. Who is actually starting at center? It's definitely not Mark Williams. He's already out. But LaMelo, 9,500, 8% owned. Got him 16% optimal. Ranks 22nd. I don't think it'd be so crazy to get to LaMelo. But the spot is awful. Like 16% optimal, 30% boom. You know, like 28, 6 and 6, 48 fantasy points. You need 58. You get these weird games where like shitty teams end up staying in it. And if that happens to be the case today, LaMelo is probably part of that deal. So is he a little underowned? Yeah, probably. Are you going to feel good about rostering LaMelo Ball? No, not at all. See if we have any Hornets bets. We do not. Nothing over a 0.8% portfolio EV score. So we move on to game number 2. This game, oh boy. We're in for one here, guys. For real. This one is... I feel bad for Dallas at this point. I know I shouldn't, but I do. It just feels weird. It feels really weird. So the Grizzlies are 10.5-point favorites in Dallas, 239 total. Now for Memphis, Santi Aldama is questionable once again. He's missed the last 2 games. John Conchar is also questionable. We're getting 10% ownership to Desmond Bane. We're getting about 15 to Ja Morant. And we're not getting any ownership to anybody else. I have no problem with the Bane ownership. I have no problem with the Morant ownership. Dallas is obviously awful right now and should beat the piss. Like Memphis should just destroy these guys because Dallas is missing even more people today. So I like Bane and I like Morant, but I wouldn't be surprised to see these guys play limited minutes. I want to talk about Zach Edey. Zach Edey is 4,800 He's center only. He's only projected for 5% ownership. We only have him in for 9. You know, Brandon Clark is there. They actually played Marvin Bagley a couple minutes last time out. But as I look at this game, to me, I want Zach Edey many multiples over the field today. Basically, no matter what. He is going to destroy the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks don't have anyone that can match up with him at this point. And Zach Edey is uniquely a problem. His skill set, I believe, can just be spammed when the situation affords itself. So whether it's Dwight Powell or whether they're doing other dumb shit with Omax is out, with like Kessler Edwards, these guys can't guard Zach Edey. Zach Edey is 7'4", 300 pounds, and incredibly talented on the blocks. I think he is going to score and rebound at will today. I don't like Zach Edey in a matchup against like Nikola Jokic. But I love Zach Edey in these spots. This is basically like Zach Edey playing a college game. He's going to dominate because there's no one around that could handle him physically. I could not be more interested in Zach Edey. He is going to go wildly under-owned today. This is the kind of game where Zach Edey just drops like 20 and 20. I mean this sincerely. They have no reason to not go to him. It is an incredible mismatch. I mean, let's just, for reference sake, the biggest guy available on Dallas today is Dwight Powell at 6'11", 240. So he's given up 60 pounds and 4 inches. If we take Dwight Powell off the floor, the next biggest guy that can deal with Edey is 6'7", 220. That's 8 inches shorter and 85 pounds less. Brandon, he played 27 and 26 minutes in 2 out of his last 3 games. How does he not play enough minutes? He literally just played 27 and 26. Don't forget, Jaren Jackson Jr. is not healthy anymore. That's one less big man in their rotation. Dallas can crush the boards all they want. It might not matter. This is my guy today. I don't normally take personal stands on plays. I'm a data guy. This is a spot where Zach Edey isn't going to look great. Yes, Brandon Clark played 21 minutes the game that Zach Edey played 27. He's averaged 24 minutes over the last 3, 23 and a half over the last 5, but Triple J has only been out for the 2 most recent games. Zach Edey is the sneak play today. I want all of you to remember what I'm saying, because when it happens, I want apologies either Sunday morning or Monday morning. This is my stand. He is going to eat this Dallas Mavericks team today. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, dunch, snacks, whatever he wants to find. 4th meal, all of it. Edey eats all of it. It's just, the matchup is insane. Yeah, if Santi Aldama is in. Why would Santi Aldama change any of this? I'm doing this because of Dallas. Are you guys ready to talk about the Dallas Mavericks? The Dallas Mavericks today will be without Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, Jaden Hardy, Kyrie Irving, Kai Jones, Derek Lively, Omax Prosper, PJ Washington, Caleb Martin's questionable, Dante Exum's questionable. They only have 9 guys today. 2 of those 9 guys are questionable, and Caleb Martin hasn't played in 2 months. Dante Exum might not even be able to play more than 24 minutes. So we haven't seen Caleb Martin play in ages. Even if Caleb Martin is available today, there's absolutely no chance that he could play a lot of minutes. Exum, not typically a guy that plays a lot of minutes either way. So they have 7 real bodies plus 2 Q tags. And outside of Dwight Powell, the tallest remaining Dallas Maverick is 6'7". Zach Edey's going to look like he's playing against JV guys today. It's going to be comical when Dwight Powell is not on the floor. They're going to have to swarm him. Think about, maybe you're not a huge fan of Zach Edey today because of what I'm saying, because you think that they're going to have to go at him hard with doubles. If that's the case, he can pass over everyone on the floor. His standing reach is going to be a full foot taller than anybody else out there. I love it. But the problem here is that we're also going to be getting to quite a bit of Dallas, which I think is a little interesting as well, because they have so many minutes going around. Massive minutes going around. For context, Mitchell Mayo, that's not the same matchup, and you're not even close to the same matchup. Kai Jones played 34 minutes that day. Omax Prosper played 17. Jaden Hardy played 16. Kyrie was in for that game. 4 of those dudes aren't on this team any longer in terms of injuries. Not even close to the same matchup. Jay Neville, I hate Prosper, but I know I'm going to have to play a lot of him tonight. No, you won't, because he's not playing. That's why Dallas looks so shitty today, and that's why I like Zach Edey so much. Because there is no Prosper. They have Max Christie, Najee Marshall, Klay Thompson, Spencer Dinwiddie, Brandon Williams, Kessler Edwards, and Dwight Powell. Those 7 guys are already active. Dante Exum and Caleb Martin are questionable. That's what we have, and that is all we have today. So we're getting 35% ownership coming into Najee Marshall right now. I think that makes sense. 6K, small forward, power forward, probably has to play north of 30 minutes. I like it. Brandon Williams at 3,800 is looking like an incredible value today. Now, he played massive minutes last time out. I think he's probably getting a lot. So I don't think he's going to be 20% owned. I think he's going to be more than that. We got him ranked 4th right now. Klay is at 12% ownership. That's going to go up. Max Christie's at 12% ownership. I wouldn't be surprised if that goes up. All these guys have MPEs as well, which I think is interesting. The crazy part for me is that I don't think Spencer Dinwiddie looks great at 5,900, but in theory, you could roster him. Dwight Powell sitting there at 3,600. I went 23 minutes. He's center only. He's a 0.9 guy. He's rosterable. Kessler Edwards is at 4K. Those Q tags will change things up. Can you roster him? Yes. Will you like it? No. Everybody's in play for Dallas, to me, except for Caleb Martin. I don't think there's a scenario where Caleb Martin can play enough minutes today to matter. So I wouldn't want to go to him. Otherwise, I think you can click on any other name and it would be okay. But Caleb Martin has not played since January 10th. And it's a quad injury or hip injury. You don't just come back and play 30. So we want to pay attention to the Dallas injury news. What I can tell you is this. One of Dante Exum or Caleb Martin will be active by default. They have to have 8 active. So even if one of those, like, even if they're both not playing, you'll probably see Dante Exum be active. So get ready for that one. Otherwise, the moral of this story is play Zach Edey against the Mavs. He's going to eat them. He's going to eat them all up. Nom nom noms across the board. We don't have any Grizzlies bets. Do we have any Mavs bets? We do not. Nothing out there right now. Tyron Fetterman, Dinwiddie, like Cole Anthony, will always let you down when they look like good plays. I'm fading. Well, he's projected for 3% ownership, 1% optimal, ranks 67th. So you are fading him like 97% of the rest of the people. That's not a fade. The Mavs have no ability to call anyone else up. If something happens a little bit worse, they can get hardship exemptions to sign an eighth guy, but he will basically just leave the team the moment their regular eighth guy gets back. They can't create any benefit from it. Game number 3, Utah Jazz. 5.5 point underdogs in Toronto, 229 total. There's no ownership coming into Utah. 6% to Walker Kessler, 2% to Keontae George, 1% to Johnny Juzang. I don't know how you go to anything here. Now, Keontae George is questionable. That, in theory, could free some stuff up. We don't know for sure. But I don't think it will matter all that much. The highest ranked guy we have is Walker Kessler. 6,600, center only. Looks fine in the 5 to 10% range. I don't think I'm going to roster anybody else from Utah. I don't even know who it would be. Maybe you can get to Keontae George if he's in, but I don't know why you would want to. If he's out, I don't know, maybe you feel a little bit better. I don't even have a name. To me, this is probably Walker Kessler and nobody else. He's the only guy that got over 5x value. He's the only guy that has higher than a 2% optimal rate. Utah looks legitimately bad here. Salaries are just too high for some of these guys. 6,600. Isaiah Collier is the most expensive guy on the Jazz. By the way, these guys are 10% owned. This is the, oddly enough, the fifth most owned or fifth least owned team. We have 4 teams in single digits: Minnesota, Miami, Phoenix, and New York. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't see anything on the Jazz that looks like something we should be playing. Do we have any Jazz bets? We haven't really had anything that showed up yet. Can we find something for the Jazz? We can. Colin Sexton, under 17.5 points, 5 OddsShopper rating, 3.8% EV on Onyx odds. You could also get that at 4% EV on DraftKings. There's a little bit more value out there on Fanatics as well at -120. But if you're on DK or Onyx odds, this one I like. Colin Sexton, 5 OddsShopper rating, 13% historical ROI. Don't sleep on this one, guys. That's our first good bet of the day. All right, we go to the Toronto end. Toronto missing some bodies today. That will matter. O'Shea Agbaji out. RJ Barrett out for rest. Grady Dick is out. Jonathan Mobo is out. Jakob Poeltl out for rest. This right here is your most owned team on today's slate. 50+% ownership going to Scotty Barnes at 7,900. Why is Scotty Barnes 7,900? And there's no RJ Barrett and no Grady Dick and no a bunch of these dudes. What a stupid price tag. Truly nuts. This is your number one play of the day today. 60% optimal, 50% boom, 58% owned. Scotty Barnes is your number one contender. Look at this. Too good today. The goal is 50. He's projected for 47. Point guard, small forward eligibility. So you can put him anywhere you want. Yeah. Yeah. Looks so good. But we're not stopping there. That's not the only things that look good for Toronto. We have 4 guys from the Raptors in the top 10. The top 10. So Orlando Robinson should be getting the start here with no Jakob Poeltl and no Jonathan Mobo. In 27 minutes at 3,500, he's 30% owned. We got him in 40-something percent of optimals. Spoiler alert, he looks incredible at 3,500. Number 3 guy in the contenders right now. Number 5, your boys, all of chat, Chris Boucher fans. Power forward center eligible, 3,300. I think he just has to play finally because of how shorthanded Toronto is. He's 33% owned. The fact that you could put him in at power forward is massive. So he looks like an absolutely incredible value. But we're not done with top 10 plays yet. Jacoby Walter, 3,700. Shooting guard, small forward eligible, should be starting. He's in 30% of lineups. Completely deserved. So we've talked Barnes, Boucher, Orlando Robinson, and Jacoby Walter. They're all like 30+% owned. They all should be 30+% owned. Hold on. What am I reading here? Al Money. OKC has been playing horrible defense the last 10 games or so. That's going to be a sentence you're going to say. Do I have to check you every day in chat just to make sure you're not saying all this nonsense? 12th in defensive rating over the last 12 games that they've played. Are we going to act like that's like a real thing? Horrible defense? Horrible defense. The histrionics in this shit is incredible, man. Okay. That was like when Kevin Ekla didn't win the mini-max yesterday. Horrible defense. They're not even in the bottom half. How horrible could it possibly be? If that's horrible, they're doomed. Doomed. Come on, horrible. What are we doing here? Are they horrible today with the whole team out? Sure. That I can get behind. That I can get behind. But no, I'm not going to say they're horrible as of late. That's insane. Horrible. Craziness. Let's see. February. You know who we didn't even mention for Toronto yet? Emmanuel Quickley's sitting there at 6,600 with all these guys out. He is also 25% owned, which is, I mean, how do you get away from this Toronto stuff? Because I want all of the Barnes, all of the Walter, all of the Orlando Robinson, all of the Chris Boucher. Quickley looks great. And then that says nothing for like AJ Lawson at the flat min. Should we be playing AJ Lawson at the flat min? A little bit. 9% own, ranks 35th. Not a good per minute guy, but when you're flat 3K against the Utah Jazz. Roden? Are we going to play Jared Roden today for Toronto? Flat 3K, shooting guard only, playing north of 20 minutes. I'm not saying he looks good, but I think we could click the name today. Jameson Battle probably plays. I think Garrett Temple has to play today probably. And if he doesn't, they're running 9 dudes. Toronto's exceptional, guys. Absolutely, positively exceptional today. The number 1 team for ownership, the Toronto Raptors. This should feel real fun. We don't have any bets out there for Toronto. So let's get to game number 4. John C., they got a lot of scrubs. Now we got to go to Minnesota and Miami. Minnesota, 4.5 point favorites in Miami, 216 total. This is the lowest total on today's day. This is the lowest pace on today's day. And the least amount of ownership for any game. 5% to Minnesota, 3% to Miami. These two teams are combining for less ownership than every other team on the slate except for the Knicks. And I don't see anything that I would want to change. Now, we do have injury news to worry about. Rudy Gobert is questionable for today. That will have an impact on some minutes, but I don't think it's going to have an impact in any major way. Like if Gobert is back, you're still getting 30 plus out of Naz Reid. Randall is in, but he doesn't look good at 7K. He's 2% optimal. This game is incredibly slow. They lose 3 possessions below their average. I'm not looking at Minnesota at all, whether Gobert is in or out. If Gobert is in, then we're really not looking at Minnesota. If he's out, maybe something sneaks into interesting. You know, you click on Julius Randle's name, or you click on Anthony Edwards. Because, like, it's Anthony Edwards, right? Like, you don't feel bad going to Anthony Edwards. But, oh, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. The highest ranked guy we have from Minnesota is Julius Randle at 45th. Jake DeWitt. I don't think Terry Rozier is going to play today. But that's how stupid the Heat are. That's how stupid the Heat are. Now when we look at Miami, I don't know why my music started playing. That was weird. So if I look at Miami, this team, man. Alec Burks is questionable. Tyler Hero is questionable. Jaime Jaquez is questionable. Andrew Wiggins is questionable. Kel'el Ware is out. That's the only guy that we have out for right now. But 40% of their minutes are questionable. And it makes it hard to talk about Miami right now. We're going to need more information here. It's an 8 o'clock start. It looks like it's a potential late swap game because if Hero's out and Wiggins is out and Jaquez is out and Burks is out, well then, yeah, we're going to be getting to a lot of Miami. They're going to go from unowned to owned pretty quickly. But maybe some of these guys are in and some of these guys are out. And at that point, it's impossible to talk about right now. As I see it, my guess, if everybody's in, is that Rozier isn't even playing. But I have, you know, maybe they don't have Alec Burks and Tyler Hero, and then he plays 28 minutes. So, unfortunately for us right now, I'm not even going to hypothetically talk about the Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo is basically the only guy that you could talk about on Miami where it doesn't really matter all that much what ends up happening. We got no bets out there on the Heat right now. Straight up zero. So we need the news. We need the news. Otherwise, it's impossible to talk about Miami. If everybody's in, you're definitely not playing the Heat. If we get one or two of these guys out, we start to have some conversations about slightly more interesting options. Now, if you guys want the Sims or Portfolio EV on OddsShopper.com, you guys can sign up and get these tools for no cost. $0. $0. As long as you sign up through one of our partners. You can see it here on the screen. Follow the instructions. The link is in the description of this video. It's popping up in chat from time to time as well. Click that. You'll come to this page. As long as you follow these 4 steps, you will get a month of whichever Sims package you're looking for, or whichever sport package you're looking for, or our Portfolio EV package. But you can stack these up. So let's say you live in a legal pick'em state, but you've never played pick'em before. Well, you can sign up at Chalkboard, get their bonus offer, and a month at Stokastic. But you could also then sign up at Better, get their deposit bonus, and get another month of Stokastic. And then you could sign up at Sleeper, get their deposit bonus, and another month at Stokastic. You can stack these offers up if you want, and all you have to do is sign up through us and email us with what you want. It's very easy, and you'll pay us nothing. $0. We want you to get in behind the paywall, see everything we have, projections, ownership, simulation tools, premium Discord, and more. So come on in, folks. We'd love to have you. Link in the description. Sign up, deposit, get a month of whichever package you're looking for. Halfway through, go to game number 5. The Portland Trail Blazers are 1.5-point dogs in OKC, 226 total. Now, this is the second fastest game on the slate. Total doesn't matter all that much. Portland, kind of difficult to talk about because Denny Avdia is questionable and Jeremy Grant is questionable. Now, we're getting no ownership to Portland. They're at 12%. I think if Denny Avdia plays, he's the most interesting guy from Portland. 6,600, small forward, power forward eligible. We haven't seen Jeremy Grant in a couple days. Nobody else grades out well here. Tumani Kamara, 1% optimal. Anthony Simons, 4% optimal. Everybody else, essentially 0. You know, your Jeremy Grants, your Scoots, your Donovan Klingons, rosterable in large field GPPs. But like, if Denny's out and Jeremy Grant is out, then we're probably looking at Jabari Walker. Then we're probably looking differently at Scoot because he can get a couple extra minutes. Maybe Chris Murray can play enough to not be totally awful. So we need the status of these two Q tags. The interesting part about Portland today, and I don't know if you heard it, they're 1.5-point underdogs in Oklahoma City. Now that probably sounds weird. When I typed it in and then started projecting rotations, my first thought was, oh, I must have typed this in wrong. It should be 11.5 or whatever. Au contraire. The Portland news is going to be interesting because of what we have on Oklahoma City today. And what we have on Oklahoma City today is 1, their first punt game, and 2, the second most owned team on today's slate. Lou Dort, out. Alex Dukas, oddly enough, still with the G League team. I don't know what he did to not be able to get to play today, but sucks for him. Brandon Carlson available, Dylan Jones available, but Lou Dort out, Shea out, Isaiah Hartenstein out, AJ Mitchell obviously still out, Cason Wallace out, Jalen Williams without the Y, so good Jalen Williams is out, and most importantly, Chet Holmgren is also questionable for this one. Now, if Chet is in, he's one of the best plays on the slate. He's 7,300. He's power forward, center eligible, 60% optimal if he's playing the 30 minutes that he's been playing. He's 50% owned. Chet looks amazing if he's in today. Amazing. But we're getting a bunch of ownership to everybody else as well. Alex Caruso ranks 8th. He's 25% owned, 4,400. Point guard, small forward eligible. Aaron Wiggins is 35% owned. Small forward, power forward eligible, 4,900. A fantasy point per minute guy in this spot. He looks amazing. We're getting 20% ownership to Isaiah Joe. He's 4K. He looks amazing. We're getting 15% ownership to Kenrich Williams, 3,400, power forward, center eligible. He looks amazing. We're getting 15% ownership to $4,300 center only Jalen Williams with a Y. He looks amazing. Here are the ranks for the top 5 plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder today. Chet Holmgren, 2nd. Caruso, 8th. Wiggins, 9th. Kenrich Williams, 15. Jalen Williams, 16. That is 5 guys in the top 16 right now. And that says nothing for how good I think Isaiah Joe looks at 4K. Plenty of minutes to go around if he needs them. I got him in for 27. He could play 34 today and it wouldn't be surprising. And I'm probably underrepresenting him. But the ownership is going to be there. These guys are either going to be the most owned or second most owned team all day. And I don't even think it's crazy if you want to take some swings on flat 3K Adam Flagler, flat 3K Ousmane Dieng, flat 3K Dylan Jones, flat 3K Brandon Carlson. We could take a couple swings on those guys in the large field contests, depending on how all of this breaks, or if Chet Holmgren ends up out. Wild game today. The late swaps are going to be awesome. This is a great slate for anybody with our sim package. It really doesn't get much better, but the Chet news will be huge because if he gets ruled out at 7:31, the swaps that we get from that are going to be nuts. Nuts. So let's keep an eye on it. But OKC, big time priority team. Now we go to Phoenix. Suns, 7.5 point dogs in Denver. 237 total. Suns, sub 10% owned. Bradley Beal with a Q tag. Stop me if you've heard this before. 4% ownership to Kevin Durant. 4% ownership to Devin Booker. Those guys are basically the same price. Those guys both have an MPE. Neither one of them looks all that interesting. 5% owned. I don't like. Can you play Kevin Durant and Devin Booker in GPPs? Yeah, of course. Do they look interesting? No. Kevin Durant ranks 36th. Devin Booker ranks 43rd. Guys, Chet already sat for multiple months this year. Why not play him today if he's available and sit him tomorrow when Isaiah Hartenstein's available, if he's available after the broken nose? Like, I don't know. Maybe they play him in both games because he can play back-to-backs. If they wanted Chet to be out, he'd be out. They are resting Shea for rest. Literal injury report. That's like, they're not being phony. They listed Shea's item as rest. You know what's non-existent, Al? You. Speaking of non-existent. Non-existent will be my ownership on Phoenix today. That's for sure. I don't see it. Denver, on the other hand, I see it for one guy. And that would be Nikola Jokic. $12,300. Currently projected for 35% ownership. 35% optimal. Obviously, you guys have heard everything we've said in this show. We have all of the value in the world to pay up for Nikola Jokic. Salary is not going to be a problem. You know what might be a problem? Whether or not Nikola Jokic plays today. Jokic questionable, Aaron Gordon questionable. We don't know who's officially going to be in for Denver, but if Jokic is playing at 12,300, we will not have any sort of problem rostering him today. That's why you see him coming in for 35% ownership. It's easy. But if both Jokic and Aaron Gordon are in today, we will not be playing much of Denver. No ownership coming in to anybody here. Murray is the most at 3%. He got to 2% optimal. Yeah, you could roster Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. You could roster these guys in large field GPPs. You want a share of Christian Brown in a 20 max? You want a share of Jamal Murray in a 20 max? Totally fine. Totally fine. But there's only one priority from Denver, and it's very clearly Nikola Jokic. Does he play? I don't know. I tend to think that Jokic is playing anytime he's questionable because he's not that kind of guy. But he doesn't have to play today. They can rest him. I'm sure they'll start to a little bit. Ooh, we got a really good bet today on Jamal Murray under 23.5 points. Now, could be scary if Jokic ends up out. But 7 OddsShopper rating, 4.4% expected EV. It's been up there on DraftKings for 47 minutes. If you're confident Nikola Jokic plays today, amazing bet. Doesn't even have to be a bad one if he's out. But I would grab that if you can. He's been a little ho-hum lately from a DFS perspective. I'll take my chances. All right, 2 to go, folks. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Schedule for the rest of the day. I guess I should do that. Let's talk schedule. We've got... Oh, that's yesterday. I don't know what the schedule is, so we're going to go with this. Deeper Dive, 5 p.m. Myself and I don't know who, DK or Spags. 6 p.m. Eastern Time. NBA Live Before Lock. 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Myself and Greg on playback, and today is a massive playback show. 2 games locking at 7:30, so we're going to have late swaps and ownership right out of the gate. 2 more games locking at 8. Late swaps, ownership, huge news. And then there's still 3 more games after that at 10 o'clock or at 10:30. So, guys, don't miss playback. Don't miss anything we are doing today. You want to be here for everything. You want to be here for everything. Game 7, San Antonio Spurs. 6-point underdogs in Sacramento, 236 total. Nothing too crazy in this one, oddly enough. The Spurs are the same team we've been used to. The Kings, no Malik Monk, no Domantas Sabonis. So sort of the same team we've been used to. 10% ownership coming into De'Aaron Fox on DraftKings, 20 on FanDuel. He does look the best for the Spurs. 8,400, point guard, shooting guard eligible, 5x value. He should be around 10 to 15% owned. He ranks 28th. Chris Paul's 5% owned. No one else is owned. I would argue Devin Vassell is way more interesting than 2% owned. Had a big day. Was that either last time out or 2 games ago? Shooting guard, small forward eligible, 6,100. Minutes are there. He's a good enough per minute guy. Position is great here, but 21% chance of 41 fantasy points. I think Devin Vassell is really sneaky here. Castle would not be a guy I would roster today. No interest. He should be essentially 0% owned. I don't need any Castle. But it's Fox for sure. Vassell as the sneak. That's probably it. Maybe a little bit of Chris Paul. Little bit. But it's mostly Fox. And if you guys want to play the revenge narrative on De'Aaron Fox, by all means. I understand that you would want to do that. Now, the Sacramento side is getting quite a bit of ownership, one of 3 teams to have north of 100% ownership. And that's because there is no Malik Monk. There's no Domantas Sabonis. And that is giving us 4 guys in the top 14. Look at these rankings. Zach LaVine ranks 10th. DeMar DeRozan ranks 11th. Joe Val ranks 13th. And Keon Ellis ranks 14th. These guys are 4 out of 5 spots in a rank that has no idea what teams are. 20% ownership to LaVine, 20% ownership to Keon Ellis, 20% ownership to Joe Val, 30% to DeRozan. Now, do I think that DeMar DeRozan is slightly more over-owned than what he should be compared to the rest of these guys? A little bit. I think they're all 25%ers. They all look awesome. Keegan Murray, probably a little sneaky in a large field GPP. Jake LaRavia, 10% value guy, maybe a little bit more, sure. But Sacramento looks great. I don't even know how to separate these guys. Like Joe Val's up to 6,900. Still looks good. Maybe not a overwhelming priority. Kind of depends on the rest of like if Chet ends up out, Joe Val ends up way less interesting because of OKC. So we'll need to pay attention to something like that. But heavy priorities on LaVine, DeRozan, Ellis, and Joe Val. They're 100% owned together. You probably want 2 Sacramento guys in a lot of what you're doing. But how do you not get to when they're missing 2 dudes? It's not like Doug McDermott's going to fall into 40 minutes. Hell, they brought Scal back. That's how bad it is for Sacramento. And if we're talking about like the easiest guys to roster here, it's LaVine and Ellis because they have the MPEs. Ellis at 4,400, point guard, shooting guard. LaVine 8,200, but shooting guard, small forward. Those guys are probably the easier ones to click on today for the Kings. No real Kings bets right now. Just a 1 OddsShopper rating on LaVine. Do we have anything on the Spurs side? Nothing on the Spurs either. It's light today. So hit that like button one last time. Let's close out this slate, close out this work week. Final game, Knicks and Clippers. Now, I put Jalen Brunson in originally because they're on the back-to-back. Obviously, it's not a great injury. Allegedly, just a sprained ankle. I'm going to assume that he's sitting today. And if he's sitting today, we're going to be playing a lot of Miles McBride. 4,200, point guard, shooting guard eligible. You're probably penciling him in for 34 minutes. It's going to look like a decent value play. And you'll have late swaps available if you want to get to him. That's also going to make Josh Hart look a little better, and Anunoby look a little bit better, Mikal Bridges look a little bit better, Karl Anthony Towns look a little bit better. We're going to need all that info. It's possible Precious is out for this one as well. I don't expect Mitchell Robinson to be playing today. So we need to pay attention to this news. John C., I agree. It was bad. I trust nothing for New York. Any other team? Yeah, I'd probably say he's out like 2-3 weeks. This feels like cortisone, a good wrap, in a 24-hour break. And all of a sudden, Jalen Brunson's on the floor again. I trust nothing. I trust nothing with these guys. Not that it matters. Like, we get this news. It's not secrets for people. But, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it when we get one of these guys out for a couple of games. But it did not look good. I agree. It's going to lead us to Miles McBride. In theory, it could lead us to a little bit of campaign. We got to see who starts. But we will see massive usage bumps for some of these guys from the Knicks. We kind of just need their ownership or their injury report. That's really the bigger problem here. Because we've had some of these guys in and out lately. You know, OG Anunoby has played 40 minutes in 4 out of his last 5. I wouldn't be surprised to see him be iffy. Towns has missed 2 out of the last 5. Precious, sort of out of the rotation sometimes. So we need to see what happens if Mitchell Robinson is out, Jalen Brunson is out, and we don't get any other Q tags. So we want to keep our eye on the Knicks, but they are going to look very different, assuming Jalen Brunson isn't playing, which I would be shocked if he's playing today. But it's a back-to-back, so I didn't do anything with it. And then we get to the Clippers. Mikal Bridges is bad at basketball. Talking about a guy that's been worth $30 million so far this year. Can't be that bad. $25 to $30 million with hasn't missed a game. Will probably play all 82. Guy's a $35 million basketball player. Can't be that bad. Clippers. Now, no Ben Simmons. No Norm Powell. So we got some stuff we like here for the Clips. Little over 20% ownership to James Harden. Little under 20% ownership to Kawhi Leonard. And here's a research assignment for you guys. Peep the minutes Kawhi Leonard's been playing lately. They're stretching this dude out. Kawhi Leonard in his last 3, 37, 40, and 38. Mitchell, that's not the same thing. Those are two different statements. And to a degree, I also don't agree with that, but it's weird. He plays so much that his value ends up getting there in like the way that you don't want it to get there. Because he never misses a game. We got to remember, Mikal Bridges has never missed a basketball game in his career. There's something to be said for being a little bit better than average and always available. Or, sorry, I don't know why I said he hasn't missed a game in his career. Wait, 1920 was the shortened season. Yeah, he's never missed a game in his career. He's almost started. He started every game possible since sometime during the COVID season. 62 of 62 this year, 82 of 82 this year, 83 of 83 last year because of the trade, 82 of 82 the year before that, 72 in the first year after COVID, and then played 73 in the COVID year with the bubble. He's valuable in a different way. All right, Clippers. Harden and Kawhi are the guys. They should both be around 20% owned. They're going to look pretty good here against this Knicks team. And then I expect 10% ownership out of Ivica Zubac for how much he plays. Great spot for him as well. I think these guys are just properly owned. Bogdanovic, yeah, you can play him in a GPP. Dunn, you can play him in a GPP. But Flyers, 5%er, something like that. I'm ranking it Kawhi, Harden, Zoo. Josh, you going to be able to fit Celtics Lakers in your schedule on Saturday night? What do you mean? Fit it how? Like to watch it? I don't understand. All right, let's check and see if we have any bets for the Clippers, and then we're going to get out of here. Am I watching it? No. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I'm home. I doubt I'm home. I didn't even know they played. but I definitely don't care. That's for sure. I had no idea they were even playing. Folks, that is going to do it. 8 games up, 8 games down. We got a hell of a day today. 3 hours of coverage coming up later tonight. Contenders will be out shortly. Appreciate you guys being here. This was a fun one. We've got stupid value across the board today. We've got a lot of injury news that we need to know. So make sure you're watching our shows later today. Good luck, everybody. Have a good weekend. Enjoy yourselves. I'll be here Sunday for the strategy show, but have some fun this weekend. Good luck. Win some money. I'll talk to you later.